It was one of the most peaceful, most beautiful moments ever.
A happy Rim2Rim that left them smiling at the end of the struggle.
It was beautiful looking back at where you came from.
And what it can teach us about the power of preparation.
I wanted to make sure I was on top of everything and that we were all okay.
Hey everybody, my name is Brian Special, and this is the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show presented by Bright Angel Outfitters. Well, as much as we talk about how dangerous hiking in the heat can be, this story is proof that it can be done successfully if it's taken very seriously every step of the way. Look, I'll never encourage anyone to plan a summer Rim2Rim or even one in May or September for that matter. But the reality is, we say it all the time, people are still going to do them. So rather than turn the other way, we'll do what we can to help those folks have the safest and best experience possible. Frankly, it would be irresponsible of us not to. I will always say, that the best time to do Rim2Rim is October all the way through November. But the reality is services on the North Rim close October 15th, so it becomes more difficult because the nearest open hotel is 45 miles away from the North Rim and Jacob Lake. So it's just the nature of North Rim services only being open from May 15th to October 15th that summer, the worst time to be below the rim and the most dangerous, is the only chance a lot of people have. But as you'll hear today, if you do your research and plan your logistics and train for the extreme conditions you'll inevitably face, being part of a Rim2Rim success story is very possible. Today, it's the tale of 3 women who did just about everything right, as evidenced by the smiles on their faces when they surfaced after a 21.5-mile South Kaibab, North Kaibab Rim2Rim in early September. Here now is my conversation with 59-year-old Jackie Kunkel of Mesa, Arizona, the ringleader of a September Rim2Rim alongside her 52-year-old friend and fellow Arizonan Carrie, and Jackie's 44-year-old niece from Pennsylvania, Becky. It's all on the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show presented by Bright Angel Outfitters. Okay, Jackie, when you posted the recap of your hike on the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show's Facebook group, the one thing that stuck out to me after 15 hours out there was how incredibly fresh and happy you 3 looked at the end of it when you're standing at the top of North Kaibab Trail. What, were you acting, or was that actually how you were feeling at the time?
We were actually, well, first of all, we were happy to have finished the journey and been out there. You know, you're on this kind of high and this adrenaline, and you think when you get, it's going to be hard, and you think when you get to that point that you're just going to be flat out exhausted. And not that we weren't tired, and not that our legs weren't tired, but we were exhilarated with the fact that we did this, and we kept saying, we did this. We did it. That was like so we were definitely happy, and we were laughing like the whole way through the whole journey through the canyon. And one of the things that we kept, reiterating to one another is enjoy this. This is, it's not necessarily about getting from one place to the other. And I think a lot of people view that, as the thing to do, get from one place to another. And sure, you're doing that. But my personal philosophy when I go on any kind of hike is to enjoy it while you're in it. Because
embrace the journey, right?
Exactly. There's so much out there to see and just take it all in. And it was a fantastic experience. So we had each other laughing the whole time. And my niece Becky, she was thinking along the way, we need to have some gangster signs at the end. And she was like thinking,
oh no,
south to north. She kept saying, and one of our final pictures, she was trying to show us how to make the signs, and and I'm of course the oldest of the group, and I'm like, okay, just tell me what I need to do and I'll do it.
Oh yeah, you guys definitely have the gangster vibes, no doubt about that. I feel like this was so cool because I feel like our whole community was with you for every step of your preparation for this hike, because you were so active in the Facebook group. I know you listen to the podcast.
Absolutely.
You were so open about asking for help and taking advice in the Facebook group, which honestly, it takes a lot of humility to do that, to seek out advice and to actually listen to people and not just think that you already know everything yourself. How important was that to have the community to assist you in your journey?
Extremely important. So when I initiated this whole thing, because like I had told you before, I had been down in the canyon before. I had done South Kaibab to Phantom and then up Bright Angel twice. And my husband and I had also done Bright Angel to Plateau Point and out for like a day hike. And we've been on the North Rim doing some day hikes, but I've never gone across in a day. And as you know, it's very difficult to get Phantom Ranch, and my husband's like, I would do it with you if you stayed overnight in Phantom. And I'm like, it's, how difficult that is. And I said, I really want to do it in a day. So when we set out to do this, I knew that there are other people out there that have done this and that have the knowledge that I don't have for doing it in a complete day. And
you'd never been on North Kaibab before either, which is a different monster.
Never been up that trail, been looking forward to doing it, either going up or down, either way. And initially I had said, I want to come down North Kaibab and up Bright Angel. And I think it was you who had suggested, why don't you consider going down South Kaibab and up North Kaibab, because of how short South Kaibab is, and you'll get to Phantom Ranch earlier, potentially avoiding the heat of the day, etc. And I presented it to Carrie and Becky, and they said, that sounds. And I wouldn't have thought of it in that way otherwise. I think I probably would have gone with my original plan. And in retrospect, I think what we did was absolutely perfect. And we couldn't have ended up with more. We were so fortunate with the circumstances that we had. And we knew we were going into this knowing that we would probably have some heat and we'd have to deal with that.
Because you were doing this in early September.
Right. Absolutely. So we did it September 4th, which was a Wednesday. And leading up to it, the whole month leading up to it, we would have weekly Zoom calls with each other, because my niece Becky lives on the East Coast and she was doing her training. We kept checking in with one another. And I think one of the things that we three of us agreed on is that it's so important, I think, when you're going with a group, even if it's a small group, that you maintain contact with one another and know that you are all training. Because if you've got somebody who's not training, and Becky dealt with this on a hike that she did, a long hike that she did back in Pennsylvania, where there was one person who said she was doing things and she ended up having heat stroke on a 30-mile hike. And they're like partway in, and they're having to deal with getting this person to safety. So knowing that the three of us were training equally or more, but training similarly, I should say, maybe not equally, but similarly. We were all doing heat training. We were all doing hikes. We were all doing long walks. We were doing step ups. We were doing all kinds of things, strength training, etc. So we were all training. And we would do weekly Zoom calls leading up to it. We were checking the weather constantly, checking the water situation constantly. And the day we were going up there, so we went up on Tuesday, the day we were going up there, the water was all turned on. We checked, the water was all turned on. But we were prepared. We were prepared with our purifiers. We had our grails, and we had the B-Freeze with us. We carried extra water with us. So we filled our 3-liter bladders. We filled our extra bottles with water. So we were prepared going down anyway in case the water went off. So we had a full checklist, and we checked in on each other constantly, making sure. And even the day before we were left and we were packing everything to go, we hopped on a call with each other. Carrie couldn't make it over to the house, so we hopped on we did a call with her, and we went over the checklist, made sure boom, 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 that she had everything, we had everything, we were all set. We felt like we were prepared for whatever. So we kept tabs on one another. We trusted each other, which I think is hugely important, to trust, who's in your group. I've done some really big hikes with my husband, and every time we've done them, like we've done some 14ers in Colorado, and that I find that's a whole different animal, because you're at altitude and it's harder to breathe, and you have to be prepared for those as well. But you're with people you trust, and you are prepared, and you're checking on that. And so that was a huge factor for us. And we would communicate about, the spreadsheet that you saw that I posted, where I posted the real time, like where we hit each mark on that spreadsheet.
Yeah, you would be like from Uah Point to get to Cedar Ridge, or Cedar Ridge to Skeleton Point, and you recorded actually the times that it took you, which I thought was fantastic. If ever anyone wants to see that, Jackie posted a full report on the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show Facebook group, and she includes that spreadsheet. And it was just fascinating to see the actual time splits, because I don't think I've ever seen anybody actually post that before. So it gives you a real indication of how long it should take you from, each point of interest, and then the overall hike if you're hiking an average time. And I think it took you guys ultimately 15 hours. But that group mentality that you guys had before you started, you talked about checking in, holding each other accountable in the training portion, which is so important, because it just takes one member of a group, no matter how big the group is. It could be 2 people, it could be 12 people. If there's one person who's not pulling their weight in preparation for this, and then you get down into the canyon, well, a group, if they've made the pact that they're going to stick together, let's say, you are only as strong as your weakest link. So was that the mentality going into this?
Absolutely. And I will tell you, full disclosure, about a month and a half out from the hike, I was having some serious low back issues, and I was barely moving. And I said to my husband, I said, this is something seriously not right here. And luckily, I have a really good doctor, back doctor, and I happened to be able to get an appointment like the next day. I said, I need to know what's going on here, because I want to do this hike, and I am not going to be a liability. And I said, I cannot be a liability here. And if something's seriously wrong, we're going to do a contingency plan. And so immediately I got an appointment, but in turn, I also made a contingency plan. I said, if we cannot do it in September, we're going to do it in May. And I got on the computer and I made reservations for the North Rim. And so we had a contingency plan in case we couldn't do it in September. And I'm huge. I'm a big fitness. Every morning I get a workout in. I do my strength training, and I go on a walk with my husband, or we do a hike. And there's something going on with me every morning, and that's my thing. And I wasn't even able to get my workouts in, and I was a little concerned, to say the least. But when I went to the doctor, she ordered an MRI, and she went over it with me. It was, she was fantastic. And she said, look, here's the issue. And she said, the only thing I don't want you doing, she says, and during that time, I was continuing to do my stretching that I do every day, which was my lifesaver. That actually helped. I felt so good. And by the time, probably about 2 weeks before we were going, I said, I'm 90% better here, and I'm doing really good. I'm doing my workouts. And the only restriction she gave me, she said, I don't want you doing any deadlifts. That's it. She said, I want you to go on the hike. She said, I want you to use the strap at the bottom of the backpack for support for your back. She said, I want you to have fun. She says, you can do whatever you want. She said, this is something that's not going to go away because it's due to age. And she said, do it, have fun. She said, I'm not going to lie to you. Your legs will probably be sore. And I said, well, there's some soreness that's probably to be expected. I get it. And I will tell you that my back was 100% perfectly fine. And other than some soreness in the legs, which I think, because I'm rather on the short side, I will tell you this, everybody out there who's listening, I will tell you this. If you're short like me, the quote unquote steps, some of them are quite tall, and all the way up North Kaibab where they were really deep steps and I had to step up a lot. I was kind of cursing those just a little bit. I said, I need like about 2 or 3 more inches on my legs and I'd be like gold. And
well, how tall are you?
I'm 5'4", but I got short little legs. Okay. I mean, I don't have long legs, and my niece and my friend are both taller than me, and they're like, taking this. I'm like, I'm like more.
Well, no matter
steps.
how tall you are, those steps on the corridor trails are made for the gait of a mule. They're
Absolutely,
they're not made for humans of any size. But the smaller you are, yes, the more difficult and annoying those doggone steps.
Which is why it's so important. And a lot of people say, they're doing their step ups and they're doing their, going to stadiums. It's so important to get all that in. Because you're doing that. You're climbing them or you're going down them. And either way you're doing it. Your legs, depending on how long your legs are, they're going to take the brunt of that.
Yeah. Well, what specifically were you guys doing? And not necessarily training together, obviously, because Becky's in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you and Carrie were training together. Mm-hmm. What were you guys doing specifically? You're not flatlanders. You had the benefit of being in a desert environment that's similar to the bottom of the canyon, and you have access to elevation. So what kind of specific training methods were you guys taking?
So for me, it was probably about a month and a half out. I had been in visiting our daughter on the East Coast, and we did a bunch of hikes out on the East Coast, and it was hot and humid, so we had the humidity too. So that was kind of, here in Arizona, we don't have the humidity. So I think it was almost harder to hike in the humidity, for me anyway. And we were also in Iceland, where my husband and I were doing some hiking in Iceland, and we got back from there, came back, which is when I started developing I didn't do anything specifically, but what I did is we had planned on going up to Flagstaff, and one of our go-to hikes up there for any kind of training is Kendrick Peak. It's fantastic. It's like about a 9-mile round trip with, I want to say it's like 3,600 feet in elevation gain, something like that. And my back was getting better. And I said, this will be good. This will be a good, sign if I could do it, because I put a full pack on and we went up and back, and we did it fairly quickly considering everything. And my back wasn't really bothering me. And then we went up to Payson a couple times there. Carrie and I here, where I live, we back up to Usury Park, and there is Pass Mountain is one of the mountains behind us in Usury, and there is a short trail, but it's got it's got about a little over 700 feet elevation gain. So we would do repeats on that. So it's like 3 miles round trip. It's like about 1.5 miles up, but you're getting, almost close to 800 feet in elevation gain. So we would go up, down, up, down. And so we did that, and I also did heat adaptation walks. Instead of going out in the morning, I would go out during the heat of the day with a full pack on, and I would, I would walk out, and I would put miles on my feet, basically, with a full pack in the sun. And so Carrie was.
Do you feel like that paid off?
Yeah, I do. And we're used to being in the heat out here too. So, but I don't go out in it purposefully, usually to, except for this, I did.
So was the training just essentially hiking and time on your feet, or were there any specific exercises that you were doing, like canyon specific exercises that you knew that you were going to need?
No. What was in the training was running for Carrie, not for Becky and I. Running, hiking, strength training, and a lot of stretching. I do. Becky and I and Carrie do a lot of stretching, and also Carrie does. She also does ice baths and sauna and red light therapy for recovery. So we did a lot of recovery in there as well. So not necessarily canyon specific. So, the hikes, I would say,
except for
probably,
the heat adaptation, which was
the heat.
specific.
Correct. Yeah. So, we're all pretty physically fit to begin with. So now in my situation with my back, I had backed off a lot initially, but then when I, was feeling better and the doctor cleared me, of course, then I started pouring more back on. So the intensity grew again.
Let's talk about the logistics of this whole thing, because the logistics of a Rim2Rim can be equally as challenging as the physical demands and mental demands of a Rim2Rim, right?
Absolutely.
So what was your plan for actually the training's done? Now you guys are ready to head north from the Phoenix area. You're ready to head to the canyon. What was the plan? Where did you have reservations, and what were you thinking?
So that was, unfortunately, with the Grand Canyon, at least, that seemed to be a moving target the last week of August into September with the water lines and them closing the lodges and everything. So that was a little bit of a moving target, but because I was so on top of everything, because I'm the one. Like I said, I was the one who instigated this. I was the one who got them into it. I wanted to make sure I was on top of everything and that we were all okay. So my husband, his name is Rod, and he's such a trooper. He's like, he was lovingly called him our Sherpa, or a mule, if you will. He was the one who did the driving around in the North Rim and then back. But what we did, the plan was we wanted to obviously stay close in to each side, to the North and to the South Rim. So that was the first hurdle that had to be tackled. So I had gotten the reservations at the North Rim, and so we had rooms there. And I had reservations at the South Rim. And because neither Becky or Carrie had really seen the canyon, I thought it would be really nice to kind of come back to the South Rim when we had more daylight and we can enjoy that too again. So I had reservations at the South Rim for Tuesday, and we were going to go into the canyon on Wednesday. So Tuesday the 3rd, and we were going into the canyon on the south side, South Kaibab, on the 4th, hiking out the North Rim on the same day, and then staying at the North Rim Lodge over on the 4th. Get a good night's sleep, pop around a little bit on the North Rim, enjoy the sights there a little bit, and then make it over to Jacobs Lake, and then we would go to maybe Horseshoe Bend and then make our way back around to the South Rim, stay at the South Rim, walk around there a little bit, see some of the sights, get up the next morning, do the same thing, and then kind of head home.
Good plan.
As you know, the lodges kind of got canceled. We were lucky though; it was only the one night on the South Rim. So our Tuesday night accommodations, we were staying at Maswick, got canceled.
Yeah, just so everyone knows, there was a huge issue with the the Trans Canyon Waterline project is ongoing right now in 2024. into 2025, started in 2023. So there were a lot of closures, and they had, on top of that, they had some pipeline breaks and ended up having to shut down the hotels on the on the South Rim for about a week. And that affected you, you're saying, for just one night. So you kind of got lucky.
Mm-hmm, we did. So I immediately went on, found a place in Tusayan, and we got 2 rooms
which is just
there.
outside the gate. No big deal.
Just outside.
Yeah.
But then I had to think about it, and I'm like, so we were planning on taking the taxi service in the middle of the night over to South Kaibab because, as you know, only the shuttle bus or the taxi service goes over there. You can't, if you're going to park, you have to park outside and then walk it in. And we are like, well, if we don't have to put more miles on our feet at that point, we didn't want to. I mean, if we had to, my husband could have driven us, dropped us, and we would have if we had to.
But yeah, the taxi runs into Tusayan.
Yep.
But because the lodges were all closed, I bet you were wondering if the taxi was even running.
Exactly. So what I did, again, I called the taxi service ahead of time, and I said, look, you guys, I know you know what the situation is over there. I said, are you still will you pick up out in Tusayan? And they said, absolutely. And they asked me what time I was thinking we want to be picked up, and I told them, and they said, that's perfect. And they said, here's what you need to do. If you want to be on the trailhead at X time, call us at least 45 minutes to an hour ahead of time, just in case. It's going to take us a little bit longer if we have to pick up somebody before, because they come like in a little minivan type thing, so they can pick up more.
And I do want to say the taxi, just so everyone knows, the taxi is one of the great Grand Canyon hacks in my mind, because it allows you to be transported to South Kaibab Trailhead, where you are not allowed to drive a private vehicle to. The closest you can get to it is about 3/4 of a mile out on Highway 64. So if you are going off hours, or if you are wanting to bypass the shuttles, which can be a major hassle to get out to South Kaibab, it'll save you about an hour in peak times by taking the taxi. However, one thing you do need to know is that the taxi, that's a singular thing at the Grand Canyon. There is one vehicle that runs. And because this is getting so popular, the peak times, as Jackie was mentioning, are becoming more and more difficult to secure a ride. So if you are planning your whole trip around taking the taxi for the traditional 4 a.m. start, you may be waiting for an hour or more to get a ride out there. So you guys started at around 2:00. You said you were the first ones out, so you had no trouble getting the taxi.
Correct.
But just keep in mind, folks, that if you are going to call the taxi, you might have to wait if it's during the peak times. But it is one of the great Grand Canyon hacks. It's not expensive. I think it was something like $15 for up to 3 people to get from the Grand Canyon Village out to the trailhead, and plus tip, of course. But it is one of the truly great Grand Canyon hacks, because they can drop you off directly at the trailhead, whereas the private vehicles cannot. Just taxis and the shuttle buses. And when you see cars in the parking lot at South Kaibab, don't think that it's people who are breaking the rules. It's actually the people who work for the Park Service, work at Phantom Ranch, hike in and out. So please follow the rules. Take the taxi or take the shuttle, but the taxi is so awesome. Okay, so you guys now you're finally there. You get out of the taxi, right? It's 2:15 in the morning or so. You're standing at the top of the chimney on South Kaibab. It's quiet. There's nobody there. You're about to go down into the abyss. This plan that you've had for, I don't know how long, months, a year, is finally coming to fruition. You guys have got to be just brimming with excitement.
We were, and a little bit of anxiety, because you're not sure how everything's going to go, because like you've said over and over in your podcasts that something can you could have the perfect plan. And you can try and execute it, but something can't. There's always something that can happen, and you need to keep that in the back of your head always, that something can happen.
It's like the Mike Tyson quote, right? That everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
Right.
And the Grand Canyon can definitely be Mike Tyson.
It's true. I mean, everything's going great, and all of a sudden, bam.
Bright Angel Outfitters is more than a brand. It's a mission.
To help you have the best possible experience at the magnificent Grand Canyon.
I'm Zena Special.
And I'm Brian Special.
From the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show to our YouTube channel.
Our free ebook to our Grand Canyon Shade Tracker.
We're here to help.
We've also got some great gear like the Rim2Rim Day Pack.
With its 6 spacious front pockets.
Yeah, that'll help you hike your best hike.
At Bright Angel Outfitters, we do it all for the love of the canyon.
And I hope you'll love it and revere it as we do.
Thank you for being part of the Bright Angel Outfitters community.
You know, so you have to keep in mind that things can happen. And you remind yourself of that while you're having a good time, and you remind yourself of that. But yeah, so we were on the trail that had been down South Kaibab before, but during the day, early day, but it was daylight. So the last 2 times I had done it, we were dropping in about 5:30. So it was daylight out, or it was dusky, but this was pure darkness. And it was a really cool experience. We had no moon and we had no clouds, which made the sky full of stars. So, and I said to Becky and Carrie, I said, when we get down to Cedar Ridge, we're going to make use of the toilet. And then when we come back from the toilet, I said, we're going to sit here and we're going to turn out our lights. And we are just going to look at the sky. And
Good for you guys.
It was one of the most peaceful, most beautiful moments ever. I mean, you just sit there and you look up and you just see this great vastness and all these stars and the planets, and it's just a beautiful experience. And we're going down and we're breaking everything into little chunks. So the first hike was South Kaibab Trailhead to Uwa Point. And we got there, we wrote our time down. We said, okay, second hike, here we go. So, and it was so much easier thinking of it that way too. And Uwa Point, Cedar Ridge, and then you just keep breaking it down into chunks and enjoying everything that's out there. And when we finally got to the tip off, we just saw this little crack of like daylight coming, kind of, it was still dark, but you could see, look at that. The sun is going to start coming up in just a little bit. And it was just, amazing to watch. And as we were getting down towards the Black Bridge, the sun is now just up over, and you could see all the red, rock, that you could see the Colorado River. You could see the Black Bridge. It was just...
It's exhilarating, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And when we got down to, I said, girls, we're going to go cross the Black Bridge. We're going to cross the Colorado. Woohoo. And I said, you guys go first. I'm going to take a video of you going through. And they were extremely excited to go across the Colorado, which was really fun, obviously. And, getting down to Phantom. We strolled into Phantom a little later than we had expected. We were hoping to hit it somewhere between 6:15 and 6:30. We got it at 7 o'clock, which was fine. But we kept to the fact that we wanted to be out of there by 7:30, no later than 7:30. So we were able to do what we needed to do in that half-hour span. We ate, we refilled our bladders, we topped everything off. We used the toilet. We put sunscreen on. We actually met one of the, we didn't know it at the time. He recognized me from the group. He had commented on my post. He was sitting at a picnic table. He says, were you one of the people that are in the Grand Canyon Hiker Dudes Facebook group? And he says, I didn't realize it at the time, he commented. And I said, oh, yes. And I did when I saw his picture there, I was like, yeah, we remember you. So they were talking to us about, the water.
Aaron, right? Yeah.
Yes, Aaron.
So it took you guys about 5 hours, between 4 and 5 hours to get down to Phantom.
Yeah.
So you guys are taking your time, you're soaking it all in, you're enjoying yourself. Now you're about to enter, as the sun is getting higher in the sky.
Yep.
You're going to enter the notorious box and then the frying pan after that, as we call it. A really hot stretch that you're going to enter from Phantom all the way to Manzanita. About 8 miles all the way across there. And I know you had planned that out. So you had a plan
Absolutely.
for that to try to
Absolutely.
avoid the heat. First of all, before we get to that, how are you guys feeling at this point? Because I'll tell you, I get to Phantom sometimes after going down South Kaibab, and it still can catch me by surprise about how much of a pounding your legs can take because you're not ready for the downhill. How did you guys feel heading into the second half of the hike?
So you'll probably find this funny, and I have a feeling, Brian, but I'm not sure. I have a feeling you don't use poles.
Oh, I do. No,
Oh,
I
you do?
100%.
Oh, awesome. I love to hear that because
100%.
Because I
In
am
fact, Jackie, if you go back to the very first podcast that I ever did for the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show, it's titled, I think, the number one thing that you need to know about hiking the canyon, and taking poles is numero uno for me.
And I don't know. I just feel like you've done it so many times. I'm like, he probably doesn't. But anyway, that's the way I feel. So, but it's funny because my niece and Carrie, they don't use poles, and my husband and I kept saying, you guys need to train with poles. You need to use poles. You need to use poles. So, and again, but you also,
did they listen?
I'll get to that. That you also have to, I also do believe you have to feel comfortable doing what you're doing too. If it's an uncomfortable thing for you in whatever way, I think it could potentially lead to you hurting yourself, or so that's a small caveat, but I really was trying to tell them to use them. But so coming down South Kaibab, I was feeling fine. I'm using my poles. I was feeling fine. Yes, you do feel it, but I also, one of the things that sticks out in my head, partly because I have short legs, when I'm going down those big steps, I don't go down forward. I step to the side and I step down side. So my knees are not getting the brunt of it. And I kept telling them, I said, when we get to those, you sidestep. You turn to the side, step down, turn to the side, step down. It makes a huge, huge difference on that pounding on your knees. And I said, I put the pole down first for stability, step down sideways, turn around, put the pole down, step down sideways. And for me, it's huge. It takes a huge burden off my legs, and my legs were feeling okay. They had commented partway down, I think when we got to Cedar Ridge, that their legs were shaking. And I said, take your poles. They had the poles with them. I'm like, take your poles out, take your poles out. So when they got down to Phantom Ranch, I don't think their legs were feeling quite as fresh as mine, but they were feeling better. Now that we were all like on level ground, they were feeling better.
So they didn't take the poles out? They didn't listen to you?
Not then, but on the way up they did. On the way up.
Too late.
Yeah. But they were fine. I mean, they I was with them. We were pacing ourselves good. So I don't know that they'll change to poles ever. I don't know. But, I also said, I'm older than you guys. My muscles and joints aren't going to recover as quickly as you guys either. But I said, for me, it does take a huge burden off my legs.
It's a unique kind of hiking in the canyon. Since you have to hike downhill steeply for so long before you even go up. Poles they make all the difference. They really do.
Difference. But I mean, to your question, I mean, we were feeling pretty good at Phantom, and leaving at the time we did was a blessing, because I honestly think I was a little more concerned about the box than I was the frying pan. I know in the frying pan we were going to be wide open to the sun, and I understood that. That was an easy concept for me to get. The having the box with the walls around you and the rocks retaining the heat. I think I was struggling a little bit with that, knowing that I wasn't really sure what the heat was going to be like in there. I just couldn't tell. But what we ended up with was incredible. I had attached to my backpack, I had a little, it's like almost like a key fob type of thermometer. so that we could check anytime, like what the temperature was, what the real live temperature was. And that was a huge thing for us. And we did check. So we were we had complete shade the entire time we were in the box, complete shade. And I was worried that we wouldn't, because we had followed the shade tracker, and I had seen how the shade tracker had predicted that, by a certain time there probably wouldn't be shade. And I think we just hit it perfectly. And the box is absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I enjoyed having that creek next to us. We just loved it. We loved that whole walk right through there. And we knew it was a gradual incline, so we knew it was going to be rather easy to get through there. So we knew we could make time going through there, which was important to us. So once we got out of there, obviously we had the sun up, and yeah, it was hot, but it wasn't hot at that point yet. But the sun beating down on you does make a difference. And again, thank you to you and the recommendation on the frog togs. Those things are amazing. I trained with them.
These are cooling towels we're talking about.
Yeah.
Frog tog cooling towels.
Yeah, we saw a whole group of guys come. They were at one point, I think they passed us at Manzanita. Every single one of them had frog togs, and they walked by us, and I said, "Well, look at all of us. We are a walking advertisement for frog togs." But we took them out in the frying pan. And the highest temperature that we recorded while we were in the frying pan, I think we were fully out of there by around 10. I have to go back and look at the sheet, but by around 10:30, 11 o'clock, something like that. But the highest temperature we recorded while we were in the frying pan was 102. Now, we trained in higher than that. So I didn't feel like I was being taxed too much. I felt I had a wide-brimmed hat on that had like a thing that covered, because I have short hair, so I want to always make sure that the back of my head is covered. And I wrapped the frog tog around my neck too. So I didn't feel like it was hot. I'm not going to lie. It was hot. And I was sweating. I mean, I was moving my body. I was sweating. But it wasn't, for me at least, I didn't feel that it was the worst it could be at that point. And I think it's probably because of the timing of how what time we went through there and what time we managed to get through.
Timing's one thing, but getting through there and saying what you're saying at 102 degrees, which is still very hot, and especially under direct sun, and that stretch after the box that we call the frying pan can be
absolutely.
It's the most brutal part of North Kaibab, even though
agree.
it's flat. Essentially, it's just a steady incline that feels pretty flat. You are just exposed to the sun with nowhere to hide. You do have Bright Angel Creek running alongside for a lot of the way. But it's not always easy to access. It's an absolutely brutal part of the hike. So what I'm going to say is you're talking about, the time of day was important. It wasn't quite the middle of the day where the sun wasn't necessarily overhead yet. But it had to be the fact that you had done that heat adaptation training and you were prepared, that it felt okay to you.
Right. And I think that is a big part of it. Now, Becky, being from the East Coast, she did say to me, she said that even though she did the heat training and she did a lot of sauna training. So she was in a sauna that was like 190 or something and would sit in for 20 minutes at a time. But she had said that it's one thing being in the heat, but it's another thing having that sun hitting you. And for her, I think it hit her a little differently than it hit me. Figuratively, it felt different to her than it did me, partly because on the East Coast, you're not, like here in Arizona, we have sun pretty much all the time. So you're always feeling the sun on you. There on the East Coast, you're dealing with overcast days, rainy days. You're not always dealing with the sun on you. So I think it's a little bit different. So if anybody who's training for this has the opportunity to do that heat training and be out in the sun, that's what you want to do. You want to be in the sun, not just being in the heat, but being in the sun. But be prepared. Go with a pack on with water, electrolytes, etc., so that while you're out in the sun with your sunscreen on too, don't forget that. That's important. Make sure you're drinking your water, taking your electrolytes while you're out there doing this heat training, because that's what I did. I had the pack on. I had a full thing of water. I had my electrolytes, had my sunscreen, everything. I tried to mimic what I would be doing in the canyon. So
it really, really sounds like it paid off. So you guys make it through the frying pan. I assume you skipped Ribbon Falls.
We did.
I mean, not going to Ribbon Falls, now everyone has a reason to come back, right?
Right. Oh, absolutely.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys now we're at Manzanita. Mm-hmm. And Manzanita is 5.4 miles to be exact, and 3,600 feet below the North Kaibab trailhead. So you guys are getting there. However, I always say, the hike truly starts, the climb truly starts at Manzanita, because at this point,
100%,
from Phantom
100%.
Ranch all the way to Manzanita is, I think, 8.5 miles, and you gain, roughly 2,000 feet in elevation over that.
Not much,
over that. And it feels flat for the most part. It's because it's such a gradual incline. However, the moment that you step on North Kaibab at Manzanita, the incline begins, and it really does not stop until you're at the top. So you got 3,600 feet to gain over the last 5.5 miles. So you guys reset at Manzanita. Mm-hmm. What's going on? How are you feeling at Manzanita? How's your water situation? What are you guys eating as well along the way?
So we stopped at Manzanita, and Manzanita was a great place to rest. It's
gorgeous place.
It's just a great
the
place
best.
to rest. Yeah.
The best.
And we actually, it's so funny because the water was turned on and we knew that was our last water stop. But we also knew my husband had planned on hiking down a couple miles in past Supai Tunnel to meet us. Just in case the water got turned off, he was going to bring us each a liter of cold water. So we knew, even though if we couldn't top off, we were going to filter at the creek, top off. And we didn't know how much water we were going to drink, because we knew there was a lot of incline. So we probably would be drinking a lot. So we didn't know if we would be out of water and we would need more. But he said he was going to bring it anyway. So that was like a godsend. So we knew we had some if we happened to run out.
How much water were you carrying?
We were so I had a 3-liter bladder, plus I had my Grail filled. That was 24 ounces. I had that filled with electrolytes, and I had my Be Free, which was a liter. So I had 4 liters
cow.
plus. Yeah, I was carrying a lot of water.
That's some serious weight there.
And it was a lot of weight. But again, it didn't bother me. And we had a lot of food too. We packed way more food. But I think we went by the mantra, be more prepared than not prepared enough.
Sure.
Because if something went wrong and we had to sit for a long time, we would have had food, we would have had water, we would have had all that. So
what were the big hits with the food that you brought? What did you guys feel like eating? What did you not feel like eating? What would you bring? What would you do differently?
I think we all kind of had similar but yet different tastes. So before we left before the night before, we had made we all wanted peanut butter and jellies and bananas before the hike. So we got to, on the way in the taxi, we had made several sandwiches and we cut them into smaller portions. So I ate a banana and I ate like a third of a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And then partway down, I ate another third of the sandwich and then finished that off. I also ate an apple along the way. But one of the suggestions that came from the group, which I thought, that's an awesome suggestion, was payday, because paydays there's a little bit of protein because you got the peanuts, you got the salt, you don't have chocolate, what's going to melt. And I never actually really, and I'm big on nutrition, I never actually really looked at because I don't usually have candy in my house. I never actually looked at the nutritional value on a payday, but it's actually not that bad. And I was like, and now because it's Halloween, they have the snack size ones. So I picked up a snack size bag. So like one payday was like 70 calories, but it had like 5 grams of protein. It had enough salt. It had some carbohydrates. So it had a little bit of everything in it, which was really good. So I brought those. I also brought some Bobo's oat peanut butter jelly. I brought some RX bars because I love dates, and RX bars are dates. I brought salty pretzels, salty nut mix. Becky loves Swedish fish, and I was like, oh God, that would make my stomach turn. Sorry. She brought her Swedish fish and goldfish. She likes goldfish, so she brought those, and she also had some nut mix as well. Some of them she brought scratch, which I don't eat. I'm a big salt sticks fan. I had my salt sticks for my electrolytes. My cardiologist, she's the one who recommended to me years ago, salt sticks. And I think they just work for me. I love those because you suck on them, and you're getting everything you need like right away. And so I had those with me. Carrie also similar kind of things. She had the honey stinger waffles. I also had some beef jerky. Becky's a vegetarian, so she didn't have any of that. So those are kind of the main things we had for food. A lot of water.
It sounds like the payday. Was the big revelation. So
yeah, it was.
I'm gonna try that because I've always I tend to lean toward the Snickers, but yeah, obviously the chocolate can melt if you don't keep it cold.
Yeah,
the payday.
Yeah,
I hadn't even thought of the payday, and I have seen people start to recommend that in the group. And now that you're signing off nutrition wise, not that you should really have to worry much about nutrition when you're in the canyon. Eat what works for you.
True,
but,
and that was the key.
The payday.
That was the key. I think eating what works for you is definitely the key. And also, one of the things that you talk about a lot on your podcast, which I am a big fan of too, especially with what was going on with my back. You take your ibuprofen as a preventative, measure, and then you take it along. What I was doing is before we left on the trail, I took Aleve. And because you could take that every 12 hours, and it's a anti-inflammatory. And I took the Aleve, and that just, I think it helps to ward off any kind of inflammation that might happen. So I think that's a huge tip for anybody who kind of suffers from any type of, inflammatory pain. So.
Yeah, I've found that on my last Rim2River that I did a few weeks ago. I actually was standing at the top of South Kaibab like you guys were, and I realized that I had switched packs the night before, and I had not transferred over my pharmacy, so to speak.
Yes.
Including my electrolyte, my salt stick chews like you use, and more importantly, my ibuprofen. It was like, uh-oh. Yeah. And sure enough, it was just as bad as I worried that it would be. So to me, ibuprofen works. Check with your doctor because a lot of people say obviously you shouldn't overuse ibuprofen because it can lead to ulcers and things like that.
Right.
But in moderation, it works for me, especially in the canyon. Okay, back on the trail. Mm-hmm. You guys have left Manzanita now.
Yep.
Feeling pretty good. The real climb is beginning. Not feeling so good.
Well, so
it's starting to catch up with you.
No, so we were okay. So let me back up. So we're at Manzanita. We've refueled. We've topped off our water. We debated about whether we wanted to walk down because there you have to walk down to the creek. There's stairs going down. We all looked at each other.
It's pretty steep too.
Yeah, we're like, no, we don't want to walk down there and walk back up. So we refilled at and the water was actually cool coming out of the spigot there, so that was nice. So we refilled there. Becky, I think, was questioning the fact. I think the sun for her was, the big factor, but the interest. So I think that was the biggest question at that point. We were feeling pretty good, but she was concerned more about the sun hitting us. But as luck would have it, as we decided that we were going to use the toilets and then leave, this cloud comes and covers the sun, and we take off, and we had shade the rest of the way up to the North Rim. We had
my.
beautiful blue skies all around, and that cloud just was following us, and
Oh my.
it couldn't have got, I swear it couldn't have gotten any better than that.
I don't think it can be overstated how significantly shade improves the hike, especially this time of the year, especially when you are ascending and you're exerting so heavily. To have that shade, it almost breathes life into you. And like Becky was saying, I mean, that's so relatable. That sun just absolutely is what gets you. It's just constantly beating down on you, combined with the heat. It's just brutal. This is the reason why we came up with the Grand Canyon Shade Tracker, so that you can try to time your hikes so that you hike at least the hardest part of the hike in the shade. So please check that out at brightangeloutfitters.com. It's a valuable resource. However, when you have a cloud following you, my gosh, Jackie, that's something that you can't conjure up on your own. That's amazing.
No. And we knew that as we got higher too, the temperature was going to start dropping. So we had that. We also had that in our favor. So we knew that, and also at some point we knew that we were going to have natural shade again, because the sun was starting to go the other direction, and so the canyon walls were going to be shading us. So we just needed that cloud just for a little bit. And so we got to that point where we knew that so it worked out just perfect. But yeah, and the temperature definitely drops because as you climb to that North Rim, you're at a higher elevation, so the temperature comes down. By the time we were done with the hike, the temperature was actually 70 degrees.
Nice.
So it was beautiful.
And when you're doing the hard part of the hike, which is from Manzanita to the top, going back to what you said a while ago about breaking the hike into chunks, this is where that becomes really valuable and really makes it seem more manageable, because this can seem like it's never going to end, especially if you've never been on this trail before and you don't know what you're looking for. So if you're at Manzanita, it's like, okay, next is Roaring Springs, which is not even a mile away. After Roaring Springs, you got Redwall Bridge. Okay, then we made it there. Now we can go to Supai Tunnel. Now we can go to Coconino Overlook, and now we're at the top. Is that how you were breaking it up? And were you guys celebrating these little victories along the way?
We were. In fact, it was so funny because when we went, one of the next stops, like you said, you went Roaring Springs to Redwall Bridge. We were starting to think that Redwall Bridge was never going to come, because we thought we had to have walked that far.
Did we cross a bridge that we didn't see? What's going on here?
We were like, and then there was a lady coming down, and we stopped and we chatted with her, and she says, "Oh yeah, it's not that far." She said, "You're really close to it, but you got to go downhill to get to it." And we said, "Who put the bridge downhill?"
That's the worst.
Yes, we're like, we were laughing about it. We're like, who engineered that? Why couldn't they have put the bridge higher?
Yeah, you go downhill to Redwall Bridge, and you're sitting there thinking to yourself, we've just given away all this work that we've done, and we're going to have to gain it back to get to the rim. Oh my gosh.
Exactly. So we laughed about it. I mean, it was,
what else can you do?
We came around that corner and we saw it, and we're like, there it is. It exists. It does exist. And I remember you saying, to put in the spreadsheet, Redwall Bridge, because when you put it in, you know that you're getting there. And we felt that way. We did. We really felt that way. We got to Redwall Bridge, and there was a nice gentleman there. We're like, you need to take some pictures of us at this bridge. So he's taking pictures of us. And we knew that shortly thereafter, we were going to see my husband. And
Rod to the rescue.
Exactly. And we said, because we thought he was just going to hike down a Supai Tunnel. So we're coming out of Redwall Bridge, and we're coming around, it switchbacks up, and we're coming around, and we hear, caw, caw. And there he is. He's right there, and we're like, man, you are such a sight to behold. He's like, I've got water, and guess what? I've got cookies too. And
let's go.
Yes. So he said he wanted to actually, and I should say here, this is how he knew where we were. And this was such an important part of our hike, and it made things so much easier for us. Becky, she's taken some courses on survival skills and things like that, and she got a Garmin InReach. Now, as a lot of you know, when you're in the canyon, you don't have any cell service. All three of us put our phones on airplane mode, because we had our battery packs and we recharged when we stopped at a Phantom Ranch. Not that it needed charging, but we recharged everything when we stopped there and at Manzanita. But the Garmin InReach was pinging us every 2 minutes. And we had a group of 13 people that it was sending pings out to. They could follow us. And we could, from her phone, even though it was in airplane mode, because there's an app for the InReach, you text the group and like she would say, we're at the trailhead, we're going down. She'd text and they would like, go get them. You know, they'd send, and it sends individual message back. So like not, the whole group isn't getting what everybody else is texting. You're just getting one message from us. So they could all track us and we were getting all along the route. We were getting, you've got this, girls, not much farther. And so we were getting these really nice messages from a lot of our friends saying, you guys are making great time. You're doing great. You've got this. And Rod was texting us. He says, you guys are doing great. He says, I think I'm going to start down now. I'm almost at the North Kaibab trailhead. And we told him, we texted him back. We said, just wait till we get to Red Wall Bridge. We'll text you then. Then you could, because it's not going to take him as long to come down as it will for us to get up. So he decided to come down. He wanted to come down to Red Wall Bridge. We didn't know that. But he didn't, we made it to him before he actually made it. He was a little disappointed. He says, I was hoping to get down to Red Wall Bridge, but I will tell you that having that Garmin InReach was really kind of nice. And I mean, if you can afford to do it, it's a nice little thing, and it has an SOS button too. So, if something happens, you will be able to get in touch with somebody. So that was a major plus for us. And it was just so reaffirming to hear all those, come on, you guys got this kind of thing all along the way. And that was just an amazing thing, because you'd hear a ping come in and we'd read, she had it up here on her shoulder and we'd read it. And it was just, it was nice. And we knew exactly who they were. Carrie's dad was messaging. My daughter was messaging. Carrie's husband, Becky's mom, my husband. So we had all kinds of people. So it was kind of cool. But anyway, so we got to my husband, and then he helped keep our morale up as we were pushing forward. We stopped again at Supai Tunnel to eat those cookies. And use the toilet again. That you have to, if none of you are familiar with the Grand Canyon, every toilet you do have to walk up to the toilet. Yeah. Just so you know.
It's a little annoying.
Yep, a little bit, but you got to understand it's because of gravity. So, but yeah, so we made our last stop there and then continued on.
So Supai, you're 1.7 miles from the top, and now you're looking for the Coconino Overlook sign, which is 0.7 miles from the top. Rod, it sounds like, breathed some new life into the group, especially with those cookies. Man, Rod, way to go!
He stopped at Jacob Lake.
Good. So they were Jacob Lake cookies too,
yes,
which is even better, because nothing says North Rim of the Grand Canyon like Jacob Lake cookies. Trust me, you have to experience it, people. So the last little bit of the hike, it has to feel like almost you're never going to get there. Rod, though, has breathed some new life into you. Mm-hmm. So how did the rest of it go, and what was it like when you finally surfaced at North Kaibab? It
went pretty well. I mean, considering your legs are saying this needs to be over.
Yeah, for sure.
And you're going and you're talking to each other and you're just moving along, and the closer you are to the rim, you're meeting more people because some people are coming down. And the North Rim is definitely not nearly as crowded as Bright Angel, so there's not as many people there. I mean, we saw a few. There was this one guy we saw. And everybody, I swear, everybody that you meet, they cheer you on. They wish you well. They're like, you did great. I mean, everybody kind of, even though they're not doing it, people are just, they understand. And so we get to Coconino Overlook, which was beautiful. You have to stop there and you have to look. And one of the hikes that my husband and I have done in Arizona is Humphreys Peak, which is the highest mountain in Arizona. And so we've done that, and you can see that day, at least, you could see all the way to Humphreys Peak. And I don't know if there's got to be days where you can't see because of, whatever weather or smoke or pollution or whatever, but we could see it that day, and it's like long ways away because it's in Flagstaff. And it was just beautiful. And it was beautiful looking back at where you came from. Like, wow, we just walked all the way from the other side to here. We did that. It's kind of surreal, Mm-hmm. And then you leave there and you make that final push out, and you see, like, because you're in the forest at the time, and you just see it kind of open up to like light, and you see the trailhead signs, and you're like, we're here. Wow, we made it. We made it. And my husband said, and I parked the car in a second parking spot closest to the trail. I said, that was smart. Not to park it all the way at the other end. So we did our, pictures at the trailhead, because you have to do that.
With the big fresh smiles. Yep.
Yep. And then we walked over to the car, couldn't wait to get the packs off our back, grab some stuff, grab some cold drinks out of the cooler. We had a big cooler in the back. Grab some cold
Rod
drinks.
came through. Mm-hmm. Rod came through. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yep. Yes, he did. And then he took us over to the North Rim lodges. We had to dust ourselves off before we went into the cabin and to get showers. And man, I'll tell you what, as those showers after you do a hike like that, man, do they feel good.
Oh, nothing like it.
So
about 15 hours it took you
yep.
overall. You finished on the North Rim. It's my favorite direction, South
mm-hmm.
Kaibab, North Kaibab. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people say go south to north, go north to south, because it's a more of a gradual decline, and then you have less of an incline at the end. But I think it's negligible, the difference in difficulty going mm-hmm. either way. And there's nothing like ending at North Kaibab. There's mm-hmm. nothing like ending on the North Rim, because as you said, there's not as many people there. You're in the pines. It's just another world up there. It's like it's stuck back 100 years ago, and it's just an amazing place. So I guess the question is, as we come full circle here, Jackie, is, have you already started planning the next one?
We did. In fact, while we were coming down South Kaibab, I said to the girls, I didn't say anything to you about this, but that contingency plan that I made for May? Already planning going the other direction, North Kaibab to Bright Angel. I said, and you don't have to answer me now, and you may not want to do this when we get out of the North Rim. You may not want to say anything, so you can take your time and think about it, and you can answer me in a month. But I'm not canceling the reservations until So anyway, and I told them, our other friend who was supposed to come with us in September, I said, she's already on board. She wants to go the other direction, because she did the south to north in May. So she's ready to do north to south. And I said, so if you want to come, we got the rooms. And so initially when we got out of there, they're like, oh.
Never again.
And so as, Thursday, they were talking about it a little bit. And Friday on the way home. So next year, I'm trying to figure out when I can get the flight. When should I come out for the flight? The logistics, la la la.
You got them. You got them. There's just something about it. Once that canyon wobble starts to wear off, you typically start planning your next trip.
Yep.
I mean, I've had it happen so many times where you finish and it's just like, yeah, that's it. I think I'm good. I don't want to do this again. And then on the drive home, it's like, okay, what could I do differently? How could this be better?
Yeah.
Next time.
Yeah.
It's called Canyon Obsessed. You guys are certainly Canyon Obsessed. Mm-hmm. And Jackie, thank you so much for taking the time today to take us through your journey. This was great. Again, it was amazing feeling like we were along with you for really every step of the way. And now I hope you'll stay in the Facebook group and
absolutely
offer, advice and from your experiences, because now you have so much more to offer now that you've experienced it. And anybody who's out there who is thinking about doing this, and it sounds like an exciting thing to do, a bucket list thing to do, get in our Facebook group, because there are so many people there who are just fully invested in helping you, judgment-free, have your best possible experience in the Grand Canyon. And Jackie, thank you so much for being with us today. This was amazing.
You're welcome. And by the way, just a little plug for you too. So your website. So I did go on last night and I purchased my shirt. I joined the Rim2Rim hiking club. So for those of you who are doing Rim2Rim or have done it, make sure you can't buy the shirt until after you've done it, though. You got to earn it.
You got to earn it.
Got to earn it.
Absolutely.
So,
the Rim2Rim hiking club. We got 2024 on there. We'll update that as the years go on.
Yep.
Thank you for that. Thank you for mentioning that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I can't wait.
BrightAngelOutfitters.com.
Can't wait to wear it with pride.
You've earned it.
So,
Jackie, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Brian.
Jackie Kunkel, a success story, at least assisted, we hope, in some small way by our Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show Facebook group. You are all invited to be a part of that group. All you have to do is find us on Facebook and request to join, and you are in. So please go do that today. All right. Well, Coach Arnie is just back from his final big training hike before his November Rim to Rim to Rim to Rim to Rim. I think I got that right. Yes, a quadruple crossing. That's what we're trying to say. His second. And as far as anyone knows, Arnold will be the first 65-year-old to ever accomplish such a feat. That training hike he just did, well, just a rim to rim to rim, right? Just a rim to rim to rim.
Today's a little more special, as I actually just completed an R3 at the Grand Canyon. And so I want to kind of share a little bit of wisdom that I picked up for my big event coming up in a couple months, my R5 at 65. And I want to talk about something called the SAID principle. And it stands for specific adaptation to imposed demands. That is an exercise physiology principle that goes way back. But what it means is this. There were things that I encountered on my R3 that I need to work on, especially with the different trail conditions, the rocks. It had rained, so there was some slippery situations. There were things that I need to practice. So if you're not practicing the specific things that you need to adapt to, you may run into trouble. Not just on your R rim to rim or rim to river or whatever you're going to do. You need to have an idea of what those situations are so you can practice them. You can find the trails that will help you to be better. There's nothing like practicing for the event. It's nice to do things, but it's even better to be intentional about why you're doing things, whether it's a strength training movement, a hike, or anything that has to do with your dream. You need to be specific, and you need to adapt specific things that are going to help you to be better. Okay, guys, this is Coach Arnie, fresh back from his R3, and I want to throw this together for you guys so you have something. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you later.
Coach Arnie Fonseca Jr. His contact information is in the show notes, and that includes his phone number. Arnie is just old school enough that he encourages unsolicited calls. Who does that? So feel free to ring him up or send him a text if you need his assistance. Arnie is always there and always happy to help, and we are so grateful for his support of this show. Hey, you heard Jackie mention her Rim2Rim Hiking Club t-shirt. Well, you can find that and an entire Rim2Rim collection of tees, sweatshirts, and hoodies to commemorate your accomplishment. That is at BrightAngelOutfitters.com. That's the company founded by my wife and me, which is solely responsible for this podcast. So if you want to support the show, please go have a look and help us continue to offer free resources to the Grand Canyon hiking community, such as this show, the Grand Canyon Shade Tracker, our Beginner's Guide to Rim2Rim ebook, and so much more. We would be so grateful. Again, that's at BrightAngelOutfitters.com. At Bright Angel Outfitters, we exist to help you hike your best hike. All All right, that's it for now. My name is Brian Special, encouraging you, as always, to go hike the canyon. Take that first step. Embrace the journey. And when you get there, whether it's for time goals or taking your time, just hike your own hike and enjoy every step in one of the planet's great treasures, the magnificent Grand Canyon. We'll see you next time on the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show, presented by Bright Angel Outfitters.